Hey, Coach.
Hey,
Congrats
Terry.
on the win.
Thanks.
We talked a little bit over the road trip about this team's ability to make adjustments, and that it would be great to not always have to make adjustments, but still being able to do it. Tonight in the third quarter, outscored the Sky 24-9. Another great third quarter for the Lynx. I believe that's the lowest amount of points allowed on the season in the third quarter. Again, what was the halftime like, and how did you assess the team's performance coming out and taking control of things in the third?
It actually started in the second quarter for us. After coming off a 22-point first quarter, the 13 points in the second quarter I thought gave us momentum to talk about at halftime. And usually what changes for us is our aggression, our energy on the ball, sort of dictating what an offense is getting, where they're running their stuff from. First quarter, it just was not good. It just wasn't good. And just slowly we found our footing defensively, and obviously that leads to a little bit easier offense for us.
And all season we've talked about the difficulty in assignments that Lan gets a lot.
Yeah.
Cardoso is one of those difficult assignments,
Yeah.
but Lan had a Lynx high of 12 rebounds tonight and out-rebounded Chicago overall. Just what did you think of her performance and also just the post-performance overall?
Well, like you said, we needed that. We needed to kind of buck up, as they say, and battle and make it difficult. And Lamb was ready for it. We spent a fair amount of time talking about what we were trying to get done, and it wasn't didn't always work out exactly like we hoped. Sometimes you can do everything right, and player still scores, and I think that happened a few times. That we just said just move on to the next one. Control what we can control. You can get a body on for defensive rebounds. We can get a little more ball pressure to just try to disrupt Cardoso's catches. And but I thought Lan rose to the occasion for us today.
And last one from me, but not the biggest scoring night for K-Mac, but coming off a game where she was just tremendous defensively, it felt like when she was on Carter tonight, it was really hard for them to get anything going. Just how impressive and just how important was her performance on the defense?
Really impactful. I thought they did a good job on our wings, both BC and K-Mac. They each only got 4 shots off. But I think overall, just understanding, you can win a game, help win a game in other ways. I mean, K-Mac has that maturity to know that. Like you said, a tough assignment. She's very difficult to stay in front of. And, it's always a team concept. And I thought overall, she still got to some spots, but overall, as the game wore on, we got a little more comfortable with it, and K-Mac was a big part of that.
You were saying before the game about how if your defense is at a certain level, you can have stretches where the offense isn't doing what it needs to do, and so you can come out on top. But I'm just talking about kind of like putting it, like breaking a team's spirit. It's more effective to do that defensively than to try to outscore somebody, right? I mean,
it can be. I mean, it depends on how good your offense is, because you can win a lot of games with great offense. But I do think like if you look at the stretch that we had where we were getting stops and running in transition, and you could feel it. You could feel a team breaking. You could feel, you could see the fatigue, or maybe, not the same effort that was happening when we weren't defending and not able to play with that pace and try to get some easy ones.
I think there was a stretch from about that three-pointer with about 6-something left in the second into the third where they had like 3 field goals made in like 13 minutes or something. I don't know the exact numbers, but I mean, it just doesn't get much better than that, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at Carter started, I think, what was she, 4-4 to start? And I had to hear this fan that was, 2 rows away about how good she was. And then she, from there, was 3 of 18. So I think that was, probably a part of that stretch.
Last one for me, obviously a longer season, but you have now matched the franchise record for wins in a season with 3 games left to go. People always want to compare this team to that team and the dynasty team to this team, and you've talked about some similarities in terms of the way this team kind of approaches things. But, I mean, just this team putting itself in a position to do something that no Lynx team has ever done has got to be kind of neat.
And what is that they've... okay. Yeah, what is our record right now? 28? And so you're saying 29 would be a record? Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Well, hopefully we get that since we have 3 games left. Yeah, I mean, that would be nice. Otherwise, that's a tough stretch to go into playoffs, getting that last win. No, that's great. Like you said, we're playing more games, and so some of these stats, a little bit longer seasons, but it's still great. There's a lot of people that didn't necessarily have us, being able to win this many games, and so not that matters at this point. I think what's special is that this group is winning that many games, and we win ugly. We're hard to play against. We're winning at home, so a lot of great things that have come from the season so far.
Both Lan and Courtney both spoke on kind of being further down in the preseason rankings. I know you just said that you don't think about it a ton, but it must feel kind of nice to be proving the power ranking people wrong.
I don't necessarily get anything from that because I think they're wrong all the time. They are. I mean, it's just hard because we have resources available to us analytically. Our model showed us that if the players, performed the way they have over the last 5 years, Lamb was an outlier because this was only her second year. Lamb's wins above replacement player number is really, really good. And so if you look at that addition to the group, look at where K-Mac is and wins above replacement player. But prior to the season, obviously we didn't have this information of where they would be during the season, but you project a team's ability based on past performance. And, the models had us, 25, 26 wins. That's not ninth, right? And so, but again, I don't expect, the ones that are doing it, it's more of an opinion. It's not necessarily rooted in analytics most times. And so, but it is nice to be able to kind of go, yeah, you were really wrong, I think it bothers Fee, I think she feels like maybe it's how they feel about her. And I tell her, no, it's me. It's how they feel about me. They feel like their coach isn't going to be able to get them there.
And Hines Allen, another really good game tonight.
Yeah.
Scoring was up a little bit more than usual for her. Just how important has that addition been, bringing size in?
Huge. Because she's different, right? She doesn't have the height, but she's got the strength, to battle. She's quick off her feet for rebounding. She positions herself well. And then at the offensive end, she's still learning. There were a number of moments tonight that were like, okay, write that down. We gotta get to her about that. We gotta help her with that. But she just plays on instinct.
Coach Courtney going 6 for 6 after starting 1 for 4.
Yeah.
I asked her about it. She's been on a great stretch, and it seems like teams are just continuing to give her space, and she takes it and hits it. Is that was what she does from that range guardable with how dangerous everyone else is?
Sure, it's guardable. Everything's guardable. But you have to make choices. And so when if you give that much energy, which they did, they started bringing two to court. Courtney's terrific in that space too, involving her teammates. And so you get the best of both worlds. And I didn't think, offensively, I didn't have us. We were ready in terms of some of the coverage we saw before, but they were trending towards different coverages. And when we started seeing those, I didn't position us very well. I needed to play call Courtney a lot more because when she's playmaking, we're really good. And once we got to that, we got some more rhythm and people were getting a little more open, easier opportunities.
Cheryl, you look at the plus minus tonight. I think Lynx starters like a plus 117, Chicago like a minus 50. What does that say to you?
I wish I was more into plus minus. It doesn't really say a lot to me. I'm just not a big plus minus person. But I don't know. I think it's good. What you're saying is good. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. Sorry.
We'll try a different one. How nice to have this momentum to continue to roll when you got this tough trip to New York and Connecticut coming up.
Yeah,
we all know how huge those games are going to be.
Yeah. With no prep time, like you go to New York and, we play an afternoon game. We travel tomorrow. It's one of those games just go hooping. It's two good teams that are good defensively. We're both in the top three. Their offense is better than ours in terms of their overall rating. So we are going to have to find our way because that's going to define our ability to win in playoffs is if our offense, we can't just be average offensively because the teams we're going to be playing against are not average, right? And so your defense, it gets harder and harder, the teams that you're playing against, right? So it's going to be hard to keep a defensive rating of 94 once you hit playoffs. And so if we're hovering an average in an offensive rating of 100, you're putting yourself maybe in a hornet's nest. Now tonight's offensive rating, as much as I was complaining throughout the game. You want it to look prettier. You want it to be a little smoother, a little sharper. We were still a 107 offensive rating. So that's usually what I find is I complain, and I'm critical. And then they go, Coach, we were a 107, and they were an 88 defensive rating. So that was a good night, and we'll celebrate that. But we have to be better. Obviously the next game is a really, really good team.
How do you guys celebrate after these wins?
I don't know what they do, but I have my post-game snacks and drink, and I go home, and I'm probably going to play W2K24 with Oliver. He's got a really good character, and I've not yet found one, so he just obliterates me. But I'll do that with him for a little bit before we hit the road tomorrow. You asked. I don't know what they do, but that's what I'm doing.
And then could you just talk about K-Mac making history, becoming the first Lynx player to make 100+ 3 points made in a season?
Yeah. So she's obviously the first Lynx. She's the 8th in league history, right? So which is a really good one because that's obviously a lot more players. Just happy for her, right? I know it wasn't a lot of threes tonight, but that one was a big one, right, to reach this milestone. And it just – for her, I just love the accolades to, or the superlatives to keep coming because she's just had a great year.
I wanted to just circle back to Courtney one more time.
Okay.
Just, from pre-Olympic break to post-Olympic break, it just seems like she's shooting at a higher level, assisting at a higher level, less turnovers. Is there something kind of specific that she did over that break that you know of, or was there some homework, or how she made this big change?
I just think from Commissioner's Cup to the end of the break, you have to ask Courtney, but I just didn't see the same level of, grab the bull by the horns, play make, aggressive. I thought she got passive. She didn't make a lot of shots. She did obviously get in the gym and the work she put in there, and we've had conversations with her about, shot locations and efficiency, but Courtney, she's never going to think too much with that, and I just think she, I just think the stakes are a little higher. Like you get to the other side of the break and you start kind of going, okay, now it's a downhill rather than, we felt like we were going uphill getting into the break, and I think Courtney felt that. So I think on the other side of the break, she was a little fresher and did get in the gym and is finding success. You're welcome.
Alana said after the game that she thought like the coolest play of the game, the one that she said she thought embodied this team the most was when Chechi had that wide open three. But then she saw Hines Allen underneath the basket, gave it to her, layup and scored. I mean, in a way, can you see what she's saying in terms of that's kind of emblematic of what the way this team has played this year?
Absolutely, yeah. They don't care who scores or who gets the credit, and that's kind of been their way. And the fact that they talk about that they notice that. And they take pride in that, and it has been something that's defined us, and it has been at the core of our success. There's just no escaping that. Eventually, you have to make plays defensively, offensively, but that's your base, and the level of trust that you have in each other, trust in game plans, and trust in each other to even when you make mistakes and. It's special. It's special. And so I'm glad that they're talking about it, because they certainly feel it. It's very authentic.
Any final questions?
Yeah. Yeah. You're prompting it for someone. So since 2011, we're 163-8 on the season. We're 13-1. Yeah, 13-1 on the season. That'll never get old for me.